Hi, and welcome to another episode of Adventures in Publishing Land. I'm Marco.
I'm Derek.
And I'm Nadine Matheson of the Conversation Podcast, because I remembered to say it.
Yeah, exactly. And we're from the Page One podcast as well. So, yes, but this is our combined show to take an irreverent look at the latest goings-on in the publishing world. If you've not seen our first show, you can still tune into that one on the YouTube channel, so please do that. You can also subscribe to us on your favorite podcast app. This show will have its own feed. We'll put all of that in the description. So if you could do that, that would be brilliant. But before we get to the news, which is what we are here for, really, I just wanted to mention a couple of things. News that involves both of you. Tarek, first of all, you were longlisted for the Bloody Scotland Award, which is
very exciting. The McIlvanney. So it's been awesome. So the long list was just announced last week or the week before. So we have a long wait till September for the shortlist. But amazing to get on the long list, and it's quite a varied list. It's quite nice because there's a whole bunch of kind of newer authors, and then there's a whole bunch of big established authors like your Rankin and Ambrose Parry, etc. So it's quite nice. I think they've got quite a nice mix of it. And obviously, if an established author wins, then it's just a dreadful competition.
And Nadine, you have news as well. You are the new chair of the Crime Writers Association.
Yeah, I am. It's so funny. It is very exciting. It's so funny because last weekend I was at Bradford Literature Festival, and people kept coming up to me saying congratulations, and I couldn't remember why they were congratulating me. And then I remembered.
So much to think about.
There's so much going on in my life, but no, it's because indoctrinated is not the right word, but inaugurated, I don't know. But I became the.
You put the robe on and you stood in the spotlight and they bathed you with the magic wand.
Well,
was there any sort of hazing ceremony? Yeah.
No, I was hoping it was going to be like, you know what, when they bring in the new Pope and you have the conclave and then you release the white smoke. That's what I was hoping for, but that didn't happen. But no, I became the new chair of the Crime Writers Association.
I had a question for you about that because obviously it's a 2-year post, right? And Vasim Khan was the one previous to you. I mean, he took over. He introduced a few new stuff. He brought in a few new categories for the awards. He brought in the cozy crime category, the kind of psychological. I think it was 2 or 3 new awards that he brought in. Is that something which 2 awards?
Are you going to bring in best podcast?
Best podcast award.
Maybe we'll have to bring that one in. But no, he brought in, which is really good. He brought in the whodunit category, and he brought in the Twisted Dagger, which is for the psychological thrillers, books that fall into that genre, which was really good because initially it was just gold, still, I think the debut, historical, translated titles, and non-fiction. So it's good that now the CWA daggers that it does reflect how far crime fiction has come and how much it's growing. So no, I won't be introducing any new daggers because I think we're quite covered at the moment. I mean, never say never, but I think we're quite well covered.
But you want to put your stamp on it, right? You want to
leave your legacy.
I'm going
to find a way. So when I do, finish my tenure in 2 years' time, it'll be like Nadine Matheson did this.
Exactly. Yeah.
I won't be too much of a rebel. I won't go through there like with my Sky.
Let's get straight into the news then, and we're going to kick off with a story about licensing deals for one of these super celebrity authors, not celebrity, but super giant authors, I guess.
I think super giant, supernova authors. So this story came out in the Hollywood Reporter on the 23rd of June, and it basically headlined that Sarah J. Maas, who is the supernova romantasy author, immediately her books go to number 1. When you look at the sales, they're normally like 14,000 like that first week. It's just crazy, like her numbers. And so it was announced that she signed a worldwide deal with IMG Licensing. And I'm going to read it out exactly what it says because I think this is the bit that caught my attention. So it means that her well-loved characters in her books Court of Thorns and Roses, it will extend across apparel, which it could be like your streetwear, your athletic wear, beauty, lifestyle, food, games, and immersive fans experiences. So that would be like the Harry Potter.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
So on one
that sort
hand,
of-
it's so, and it's worldwide. And on one hand, I'm thinking, well, yeah, that's cool. Like, it's really cool. And I was thinking about myself and my own series. I'm like, I don't know what they'll do with Henley. Like, I could probably get my own set of knives.
Exactly.
Like,
Certain stories lend themselves more to franchising than others, I think.
yeah, I don't know if Henley serial crimes, but I'm convinced, and a nice set will definitely work.
Yeah,
But then,
yeah.
so on one hand, I was thinking it is really, really cool. But then, on the other hand, I just kept thinking about like just new authors and mid-list, like normal authors, and how I feel like we're constantly telling, especially new authors, like don't write to trends, just tell the story that you need to tell. But then when you're faced with news like this, when you've got superstar authors getting these amazing licensing deals, how do you convince people that, you know, sticking to the story you want to write and not feeling like I need to write romantically because this is where basically this is where the money is?
Mhm.
How do you convince them that that's not the case? And also, isn't it intimidating? You know, you're there working away in front of your computer on this
Yeah.
book, just hoping to get a book deal, you know, just hoping to get an agent and then get a book deal and just see your book on a shelf, whether it's a supermarket shelf or normal bookshelf. And then you see this sort of news.
I feel that publishing is like it's really a tale of two halves, right? It's always like you either seem to hear about the super massive big splashy deals that people are getting, like, you know, millions, etc., big massive adaptations of films, or you get the stories that are like the average earnings of an author is cresting £10,000 a year. You know, it's like it feels like the middle section is never really talked about very much. Like it's which must be most people's experience is making more than
Stuff
10
on the
grand a year,
mid-list
but
kind of
nowhere
thing.
but nowhere near the Sarah J. Maas stuff. But you're right, that but it's quite skewed, I think, in the reporting of it all sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's what was bothering me about it.
I mean, I think with these absolute superstar authors, you kind of have to just, you know, detach yourself from that. It's almost like, you know, they're a different category of author. And yes, it will happen lucky to a few people, obviously, that they will break through and make that, you know, sell the license and worldwide licensing rights to serials and stuff like that. But you know, I think for everyone else, you have to aim perhaps a little bit lower. I mean, I think what most authors would like to be able to do is make a living from writing. And beyond that, you know,
anything extra is gravy.
Yeah, I was thinking, well, who are the authors who have had these type of massive licensing deals? And I said the only
Not
ones
many.
I could think. No, I was thinking of J.K. Rowling, obviously, with Harry Potter. Obviously, she must have a licensing deal for what she's got. And then I was thinking, then Jurassic Park popped into my head because you have the Jurassic Park ride at Disney World.
Well, that's a good point. I mean, like How to Train Your Dragon, right? They've got the theme park.
Yeah.
So I suppose books that have been made into massive films, or that have done like, I suppose that launched a lot of stuff, right? To franchise.
Yeah, but she hasn't had a massive film, you know.
No, that's true. Yeah, that's true.
It's just based on the books and the popularity.
And
of her
you're
books
right,
in the
because
it's quite unusual, actually,
because it's not aimed at kids. You know what I mean? Which is what
No.
Harry Potter, How to Train Your Dragon, these things that do get the rides and do get these things, they're generally skewed at a younger audience. So it is unusual in that regard, definitely. But I suppose it just, it just shows that if you can, I think with fantasy especially, you have that ability to create a fandom that you don't really like. I don't think a crime author would ever have that fandom.
No,
doesn't matter
and
who they
folks
are.
spend money on fancy loot boxes and stuff where you would never get that for a crime book or for most other genres, a sci-fi book. I think.
I mean, there is the goals for a crime box, is there not?
There is, but I would love to know the numbers, like how many people actually subscribe to that compared to the fantasy boxes.
Yeah,
normal book. But I was gonna, you said that it's mainly like the fantasy and maybe like books geared to children. that will be get these licensing agreements. But I think Colleen Hoover had one, because I remember, I might be getting the details wrong, but because there was an issue with they issued these colouring books, and then because I think with one of her books, I don't know whether it's Verity or the one that was in a film with Blake, that was made into a film with Blake Lively, it's a domestic violence theme to it. So people are taking issue.
What were the colour? I'd love to know what the images were.
It's a strange thing to license.
Exactly, it's a very strange thing.
A man in a white vest with holding a bottle of beer coming back from a hard day at work. I've not seen the film.
Yeah. But this is something people might take issue with that, which I could understand. And I do remember that she had nail polishes made.
Right.
Okay. That's what the licensing agreement. So it's not just like the fantasy books, which makes sense. You can see how you can make a theme ride out of, Jurassic Park experience, but How to Train Your Dragon. But for what would be, I don't know, if it's, I don't know, psychological thriller, contemporary romance, whether her books are contemporary romance. But she also got the licensing agreement too, but that's come off of TikTok as well, because her popularity got really big because of TikTok, and I think Sarah J. Maas
I think that's right. That it's opened up an avenue, hasn't it? There, that the TikTok, the sort of book talk thing, I suppose, has created an alternative way of getting huge as an author. But it's very, again, it seems to be a very select type of story that gets picked up and gets made a big deal of on there.
Yeah, and I don't think anyone seems to really know how you become big on TikTok. Like it's this kind of nebulous thing of like, there's no formula or algorithm to it that you can replicate. I don't think. I think it is a kind of, if it takes off, it takes off, and maybe that's the best way of a book becoming big, because it is like a natural thing that readers, for whatever reason, just went for, but you can't really push that or create that no matter how much money you throw at it. I don't know.
Yeah, but we can all but dream of
imagine having a theme park.
Characters.
Imagine having a theme park based on your book. That would be amazing. That would be incredible. Yeah.
I have a theme park just coming down to South East London, because that's where my books are based.
Exactly.
But you get like all these like Halloween horror nights. That your one would be perfect for that, like a kind of dark, scary
your
experience.
One, you could go about and strangle children.
You'd have some country music playing. You'd have some like country, some like fried chicken, and you'd do some strangling. It'd be a really nice experience. A really nice day.
I can take you on a boat ride, but on a river. I'm gonna do that. I already
finding body parts.
Yeah. Oh my god, I can get mannequins. Just body parts.
Yes.
That'd be so cool.
Yeah.
Marco, years ago, we did that zombie thing in Edinburgh. Remember?
Yeah.
It was great fun. There was like, you got like instructions, and you went around Edinburgh with like grid
and
coordinates.
You would get attacked by zombies. And
you got attacked by zombies at random points, and you had to like follow a story around. It took about a few hours. It was genuinely great fun.
Do you know why I wouldn't have done it?
Kind of immersive experience. Why? Edinburgh.
Because I'm scared. No, not Edinburgh. Zombies are the things I actually believe in. Out of all the things that could happen,
what do you mean you actually believe in? What do you mean you actually think they're real? Do you think they have happened already, or they just might happen?
Might happen, could happen, will happen. I watch, and the thing, the stupid thing is, as much as I love Walking Dead, right? I watch Walking Dead like I'm like half behind the cushion. I'm such a chicken. So no, we'll not come on your zombie tour with you.
Fair enough. It was genuinely quite scary at points. Yeah.
But I'm going to segue there. Speaking of tours and walking. Tarek, you
nice,
want to...
very good. I that's my story. That's my cue.
I
am going to talk about.
I just caught on.
No, it's very good. Marco, very, very good segue. So I'm going to talk about the Salt Path, which has been in the book news for all the wrong reasons the last week. Which so the name of a book by a person called Raynor Wynn. It was released back in 2018, and it was billed as a memoir, a nature novel, a travel book, and importantly, a true story, obviously, as memoirs are. And it told this true story of Raynor and her husband, Moth, odd names. And essentially, the plot of the book is that they lose their home. Moth is diagnosed with a fatal neurodegenerative disease called corticobasal degeneration, and they embark on this long-distance walk along the southwest coastal path in England. And it was a big deal when it was released. It was shortlisted for the Wainwright Prize, the Costa Book Awards, etc. And it was adapted into a recent film last year with Gillian Anderson and Jason Isaacs in the lead roles. So far, so standard. Then, last Saturday, The Observer kicked things off when they published an article stating that the events in the book were inaccurate at best and probably downright lies at worst. Now, the allegation made in the article was that Raynor, whose name at the time was Sally Walker, had embezzled money from a family friend to the tune of around £64,000. The friend reported this to the police. Raynor / Sally was arrested, interviewed by police, released and told to come back to the station the next day, and then she vanished. So Sally and her husband, whose real name is Tim Walker, went to a family member who arranged a deal through a solicitor to repay the £64,000 that she'd embezzled, and on the condition that no criminal charges were placed against her. That seemed to be the end of it. But repayment, I mean, the story is mental. Repayment of the debt, but from the family member, was tied to Sally and Tim's house. And when the family member's business went bust, the loan was called in and they were forced to pay. And although the original debt was £64,000, they'd borrowed £100,000 from this family member. So plus interest, it was now £150,000. And if they couldn't pay, they'd lose the house. So they had no hope of finding the money. So they started their own publisher, right, called Gangani Publishing, and only published one book called How Not to Stand Firm, written by this unknown writer no one had ever heard of before. And it was sold through their own website, okay? And for every copy bought, purchasers would be entered into a prize draw with the chance to win the house. Okay. God. Insane. The same house which is the court order against, etc., etc. So ultimately, the loan and the mortgage were more than the house was worth. It was repossessed. And I presume this would then spark their spiritual journey and they're walking and everything. But there's a number of questions which arise from all this. You know, the big one for me is the fatal neurodegenerative disease that Tim Mothman suffered from. In the article, but in the Observer article, 9 neurologists and researchers are very sceptical about the length of time he's had this for, the fact he's actually gotten better from it.
Oh yeah, that's the claim. I thought that, you know, without having seen the film or read the book, I thought the whole concept behind it was that, you know, that this had somehow slowed or even healed this
I think that's
disease,
right.
essentially, which seems, you know, and that is when you start lying about stuff. Well, I don't know if they are lying, but, you know, when you start making claims about that are unsubstantiated, that's where people start to get in. I mean, this story seems to me to have quite a lot of similarities to the one to what we talked about in the last episode.
Oh, James Frey.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny you say that, right? Because reading all this stuff this morning, I was the questions which kind of jumped up to me were, what happens if a book that's billed to be a true story turns out not to be a true story? You know, the publisher Penguin have stated they did all the diligence, etc. Yep. And Raynor Sally has disputed the Observer report. But as you say, James Frey, who we talked about last week, he put out A Million Little Pieces, a true story of a drug addiction. It was discredited in 2006, and a group of readers sued Random House on that basis. And, you know, and is that something, you know, is that an entitlement thing, or is that something which people should be doing, or should be holding publishers to account?
Yeah, because you get films, don't you? You get films that say they're based on a true story, and sometimes they're not based on it. Yeah,
no, but
like
then
it's
I
used
as
a technique to almost set up the film. But it's never been a true story. They just say based on a true story.
And I never ever watch a film that says based on a true story and then get hung up when I find out, they changed a whole bunch of stuff. Because I'm always like, well, it's never going to be super accurate. I don't expect it to be super accurate. So, but then, is a memoir different if in a book form? It feels maybe it is different. I don't know why.
I mean, I don't think I would ever feel that I have the right to sue.
No, I feel that seems odd to me. Yeah,
that seems a step too far. But
I was looking to see, because I know with James Frey, they after it came out that he'd lied about certain aspects of his, I'm saying memoir in quotes, that they had to like rename it. So they describe it as a shocking exploration of addiction, as a
so they could call it a true story or memoir anymore.
Yeah. They called it something else, but I can't think. You know what made me laugh though, and I shouldn't have laughed, because when you said they went on a spiritual journey, and obviously criminal lawyer me was like, no, they went on the run. That was not a spiritual.
That was my exact thought
They
when I
went
was
on
reading through. I thought that is going in the run.
When
That's
I
not
sat
that's
there
not
and
how
I-
we're going to walk to heal ourselves.
when I read the article on Sunday, I wasn't reading it as like a, just a reader, just a casual reader. I literally gone automatically into criminal lawyer mode. And I felt like I was sitting there with
Liars.
a client and they're just sitting there telling me their account. And in my head, I'm thinking, this is bollocks. All of this is bollocks. I mean, who sets up a company and then says a publishing company, yeah, you can buy the book. I mean, you can always buy books.
Very,
directly through
very
the
weird.
company.
Yeah,
but
there's
that's
so
fine.
much
That's
just
fine.
dodgy stuff
To
here.
win a house.
I would.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's that it's all very strange. I mean, one thing I did read someone commenting about it, which was that, even if this is a fabricated story, one thing it has done is that it sort of opened up this, it set a trend for that type of book that otherwise wouldn't have been there.
Yeah.
So it actually opened up an opportunity
wasn't the-
for other authors and stuff like
Yeah.
that to sell stories
They weren't
like
the
that.
first one though. Because
No, they weren't. No.
Oh, what's her name? She wrote. Is it Strayed? She wrote. Oh God, I've forgotten her name now. Cheryl
I can know the one you
somebody.
mean. But I mean, that is
No,
a good question.
Her
Like,
name is Cheryl Strayed, and her book is called Wild. And that was sort of
Right.
oh,
the
Wild,
equivalent.
that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I read it and I watched the film, and she went
Yeah.
off on a
So the Reese
on a
Witherspoon
joy
movie.
journey. Yeah, the Reese Witherspoon
Yeah.
movie. But I was
But
thinking,
I mean, that's it. Like, no, does it matter? Ultimately, in the grand scheme of things, how important is it that it's true or not, or that we were lied to or not?
Mm-hmm.
Is that a big issue?
To me,
or not?
it's more an issue between them and their publisher almost
Mm-hmm.
than the members. I mean, you could feel betrayed, you could feel deceived if you read it, if you bought the book and you read it and that sort of thing. And I wouldn't then go from the next step to think that I'm entitled to get money back or anything as a result of that. But if they've lied in a contract with their publisher, then that's an issue between
Or they've
them
said
and the
stuff
publisher.
in the book about someone who claims it's
Well,
defamed,
yeah,
I suppose, or something.
yeah.
But I mean, you can look, because they were on BBC, or they had a segment on BBC Breakfast News this morning about it.
Or did they?
And I think you look at it, you can look at it in like three ways. There's the first part of it, it's all the dodgy stuff with the house and borrowing money and not paying people and doing dodgy publishing companies. But then, if you took that to one side, can you still say, well, that invalidates the fact that they did? I'm saying if they did take this spiritual. They didn't do it right now.
That's
They
it.
took this spiritual journey.
Yeah, no, that's a fair point. Yeah.
And then the other side of it is that as a publisher, like, what exactly is due diligence? Are you expecting someone to give you all their notes and diary entries from the minute they start?
That's very true.
What is due diligence? What does it mean in that?
No,
context?
exactly. You can't expect a publisher to thoroughly vet every memoir that they're given and find out if every single piece of it is true or not. So at the same time, I suppose, though, if there must be some due diligence, a publisher must have some responsibility if it's being marketed as a memoir to have some checks that this might have happened, because otherwise you do get into a stage where they are selling stuff that they don't even know if it's true or not, sort of thing.
God, you would have thought with James Frey, you would have thought it would have been quite easy to find out, okay, did he actually check into this facility?
Yeah.
Can you confirm the dates? If you are prepared to, can you hand over? Even if you don't want to disclose your full medical records,
do you think?
But can you confirm your entry?
Would want that? Would the see for instance, like the Tim Walker, the husband, Mothman, would they have asked for proof? You think of his illness?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's obviously very different from, for example, a newspaper, where they would never publish an investigative story unless they'd thoroughly checked all sources, had evidence. All of that would be checked and lawyered and everything. So there must be a line in publishing where, if you're saying it's a memoir, it's almost room accepted that some of it there's room for exaggeration. There's room for
I mean, it goes back to, if I'm cross-examining someone, cross-examining a witness, and you're testing their memory, their recollection is never going to be 100% precise about or correct about an event.
No,
that took
exactly.
place
Yeah.
5 years. I mean, I can't even remember when I was practicing. I couldn't even remember what I was doing the week before. because you know, if I'm doing a case, I'm learning the case for that week, and as soon as the case is done, I've done the trial.
Yeah.
I
you had
moved
to
on to
vote
the
to go
next
back
one.
years.
Yeah. But also as well, I was just looking at the publication date for the Salt Path. It was 2019. So it wasn't like it happened in 2006, like, or 2002, like prior to James Frey. This is post James Frey.
Oh yeah,
So
much longer time after.
Yeah.
I suspect it will lead to changes in publishers' approaches to when they're approached with a memoir like this, that they maybe will do a bit more due diligence. But I don't know. It's interesting. Obviously, it has been the Rayner Wynn and stuff have denied the allegations.
Yeah, they were.
Everything.
They were very hurt this morning on BBC Breakfast News.
We'll just need to wait and see how it all shakes out, I guess, and we may come back to this story in the future. But I want to touch on something else, which is obviously, mentions a bugbear of many writers at the moment. It relates to AI, but specifically, there's an AI fiction translation company that's been launched by Bloodhound Books, who are a small sort of indie publisher. But they've launched this Globescribe.ai, and they are claiming that they've done blind tests, with human translated work and their AI translated work, and people can't tell the difference. In fact, sometimes the AI is better, and all of this sort of stuff. And, there's been a backlash against this because I think, especially in writing circles, when AI is brought up, we discussed a bit of this in the last episode as well. When AI is brought up, there's always a backlash. But I think in this case, to me, I just can't see how this could ever do the job that a human could do. I could see how it could be a lot cheaper for for publishers. But, a translation is never a straight word for word translation. The base translations, you're almost you're not rewriting it, but you're writing it in a new way. And the best translators are creative people themselves in making sure that they're telling the same story but in that language, which isn't just a case of taking the same words.
No, exactly. They're trying to capture the tone of something, aren't they, or the gist of it, perhaps. Yeah.
And I saw there was a post by someone on social media that said, a translator is never going to, an AI is never going to contact an author and have a discussion about a specific point or ask about whether one word or another word would work, or where there isn't an equivalent name in that language, what name would be best. Yeah. It's just going to offer what the most derivative thing is in that point. Yeah. So I can understand the backlash here.
Yeah, when my book, The Jigsaw Man, was coming out, well, before it was being published, and I remember my French publisher, Michael, who used to send me his emails, were so funny because they were so sarcastic. It's like, I assume you're out, which is why you're not picking up your emails. I was like, yes, I was actually out. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. But those were the tones of his emails to me. But so my French translator was getting in touch with me. Czech, Finnish, who else? I can't remember who else. But those three specifically, I remember them. They were sending me emails, and it was, we don't have a word for whatever this word is in English. So what would be the equivalent? And we'd have these email exchanges going back and forth. And I remember there was certain, I think my translator from Finland, like, he made a point about the birds, like what birds were going to be flying around at that time of year. So you're having these conversations, and they're needed because obviously they have to translate it into language to make sure that it makes. I can't read it, even like my German. I don't read German and stuff. And you're not going to have that conversation with AI, which is just ridiculous. And last week, when we had the CWA Dagger Awards, one of the awards are for translation, so for an edition of a book, and the author, so I can't remember her name, but the Japanese author won an award for her book for translated work, and then the translator got an award as well. And then when she gave her speech, he was there also translating for her. And who are you going to give your award to a bot?
No, exactly.
Yeah.
No,
I'm going to jump in with devil's advocate here, right? And I mean, I will say my gut feeling is the same as you guys, which is that AI will never be able to do as good a job as a human person translating, and at the moment anyway, nowhere near that. But what my kind of thought about it was, is there a benefit to people who are trying to create stuff without the backing of a publisher? And cause I mean, I'm thinking of it from the point of view of like the Kindle store or the rise of ebooks, which everybody said was a great thing, and still do say is a great thing, because it gives people an avenue to publish books, themselves, and it puts books out there, and you don't need to have a publisher to back you, and you can do it all yourself, or your marketing yourself, etc. Is this an extension of that? So you've written your book, you can put it out in English, and now you can put it out in Spanish and German. And I'm not saying that it will be any good, and I'm not saying that people won't necessarily lose jobs, because if it became big, translators would obviously be the ones who would suffer. But from the point of view of a creator who doesn't have a backing publisher, for them, I can see this being a really good thing.
Well, because you're essentially sort of selling foreign rights, I suppose, aren't you? It does say independent authors can create an account, upload a manuscript, and pay per book, and publishers can set up a publisher account with multiple user permissions, API integrations, monthly invoicing, etc. But I mean, and I do see that you're opening. But I would go back to the point that I just don't think this is going to do a good job. So do you want your book?
That's fair.
To be
you're right,
out there with a pretty crappy version of it may, I'm assuming maybe it won't be, but I just struggle to see how it could be as good as if a translator did it. And would you want that? Would you want that being read? Then your book might.
I think we are going to get to a point, right, where we'll have to ask ourselves a question: if, say, in 5-10 years' time, it was able to do as good a job as a human translator, there'll be a quite difficult set of questions that people will start to ask, because I guarantee you publishers will not turn down cheaper translations. They'll be the ones who will say, well, if we can do it for cheap or for near to free, we'll use that rather than paying a translator. And I think that is the way it's potentially going, and which is a pretty bleak view of it, I think. But
I was just thinking that it reminds me of there's the early days of self-published books when no one was getting editors, so the editing was poor. You can tell it hadn't been proofread. The covers were rubbish, and as soon as it appeared on the Amazon store, the bookstore, you were just like, "Well, that's self-published. I'm not even gonna bother." So you could see it. I mean, if I was to play devil's advocate, I could understand if you are an independent, self-published writer and you want to get your work out there and you want people in France to read it because you feel like it's doing well. But it's finding, you have to pay for these things, which you're always saying. If you're self-published, it's not a cheap option. So I could understand it if you wanted to save money, but you have no way of verifying that you're getting a product that's going to be good unless someone in whatever country it is comes back to you and says, "Oh, this is a perfect translation." Because even with my Italian translation, I remember a friend of my friends, her dad, who was Italian, I gave him a copy of the Italian translated copy of the book, and he wasn't happy with how some of the phrases had been translated into Italian.
Oh, really? Okay, that's interesting.
So
because my gut feeling is, and I'm not commenting whether I agree that this is a good or bad thing, but I could see the industry going in a direction where more and more stuff's offloaded onto AI, and then you hire like a company or of translators who basically sense check stuff, and rather than doing the translation themselves, they read over it and they maybe highlight stuff that needs to fix back. You see more and more work.
You could well be right, but I just think it's
so go.
No, I was just going to say, it's just if we do end up going down that route, then unfortunately what that's going to do is cut out. There just won't be as many translators anymore, and I think that's a bad thing. 100%. And I think the danger is, as with all AI, is that if you do that, if you wipe out a whole category of worker and essentially churn it all over to a computer, then I think the quality will drop, because these things are derivative. They can only learn off what is already there, and you kind of lose the art of it. And you lose the skill, and I think that would be a real shame. But
I was thinking I was thinking it's no different to like is it automation? And when Ford cars came in and they came up with the assembly line,
the
for
factories
cars.
were doing it exactly.
And this is just another like incarnation of that.
I feel there's no
AI is
escaping
not
that.
going anywhere. I mean, that's the thing.
No.
It's like much as we will fight against it, and it's not going anywhere. But I think for writers and translators, it's about protecting our copyright, intellectual property, and protecting our creativity, which is different to the whole AI on a wider.
I think there's that, but also I think also this is getting more into general AI, and obviously we could speak for hours about this, I suspect. But I think the thing is, when people bring up that sort of it's like automation, it's like the printing press, it's not though, because there's something in the creation, and I include translation in that. There's something in the creation that is, either you accept art is a thing that is created by humans, and there is, maybe you could read a paragraph of AI translated text and a paragraph of human translated text, and it pretty much is the same, but there's an almost amorphous thing that is important, and I think it is important to people as well. Some people won't care, some people will take the machine stuff, but I think the fact that there's humans involved is important. And I think that's where the automation thing kind of falls down slightly in terms of
I think you're
comparison. But in a capitalist system, maybe that doesn't matter.
But I think the other point about the automation is that it's also one thing, I think, to the argument that technology moves forward, people lose jobs as a result. There's no escaping that. I think it's one thing, I suppose, if you're losing really hands-on jobs like factory workers, etc., kind of low-skilled jobs, and the hope would be that these people are then freed from those types of work and they're able to then kind of better themselves as part of society. That must be the argument. I suppose when technology gets to a point where you're then losing highly skilled jobs, that feels different to me, doesn't it? It's not like we're bringing all of the bottom of society up with us.
It goes back to that thing of like when you want, when they told you they'd create AI, you wanted it to do all the chores, all the mundane stuff, and not take away all the creativity stuff.
I want when Ocado deliver my food shop, I hate packing the shopping. This is what I want AI to do. I want AI to pack my shopping. I don't need it for anything. When I think of AI, I'm a teenager from the 90s. When you tell me AI, I just think Terminator 2, and I can't help it. And I'll always think of Terminator 2. But then also as well,
100% your Ocado packer will be the first that turns on you. If you've got a robot after 7 years of packing your apples, it's going to go absolutely mental.
It was short circuit. But then I was thinking, I think was it today? I was doing an Instagram reel, and then it did. I don't normally do the captions because I just can't be bothered. I'm lazy. But I thought I'll do the captions. And I'm thinking, and that is, I mean, it's a form of AI, isn't it? But I'm like, if you can't, they can't even get the captions right, what you're saying half the time.
Yeah, I know.
So I'm not going to be relying on it.
Well, that's the other thing, is that I just don't
language.
No, we're far off being good enough.
The claims being made about what AI can do and what it can actually do there's a gulf between the truth there, and that, I suspect, includes this product anyway. But we'll keep an eye on it. We will undoubtedly speak about AI in future episodes again. On this final bit of the podcast, we always like to cover something unrelated to, or unrelated directly to publishing, although I suspect on this one we'll be discussing something related to writing. Last week, before we do, I've been trying to wind Nadine up with my mug here.
Honestly, man, I've been watching you take drinks from that mug the entire episode.
Because last episode we were talking about Superman, and look at my T-shirt.
Oh,
there you go.
That's some grade A trolling right there, Michael.
No, but this week we were.
You can't break me. You will never break me.
For those listening to the podcast, Marco is drinking from a Superman mug, wearing a Superman shirt.
No, you need to be because you need to be clear. It's a crypto, a James Gunn crypto.
Oh, sorry. Okay,
a James Gunn crypto. Yeah.
Because Nadine is very anti James Gunn.
Yeah, listen to the last episode and you'll get all our feelings on that one. But this week we're gonna, last time we were talking about blockbuster movies and superheroes and all that sort of stuff. This week, Nadine wants to bring the whole tone of the conversation down and talk about a man jumping into an airplane engine. But we'll find out why.
Yesterday, I was minding my own business, scrolling through Instagram, and initially I thought it was a joke. Like I just thought it was like some AI thing, and the story was man gets sucked into a plane engine. And I just thought,
sounded like an accident.
Yeah, and I thought this isn't real. It can't be real. And then later on that day, I came onto Sky News's Instagram page, and there it was again. So at Milan Bergamo International Airport, a man was seen running onto the runway and they were chasing him, and then he went into the plane engine.
Yeah,
and
horrendous.
I didn't even realise he died, first of all. Because initially I just thought maybe he works on the runway and he got sucked into the engine. I just couldn't work out how that could happen. But then I learned that he actually went into the plane engine and he died. And then being a writer, because I am a writer, I then thought, well, this is always the answer when people ask you, well, where do you get your ideas from? This is how you get your ideas, because you're scrolling through Instagram. You see these stories that you just think it can't be real, but they are real. And then that inspires the stories. And then I thought about, oh God, and I cannot remember the title now, but it was a movie with Tom Hanks where he played the pilot
Sully,
who landed. Yeah, he landed the plane on the Hudson, even though, it was a real story and it got turned into a movie. But again, it's real life experiences that create these stories.
Well, I mean, you've talked before on our Drafting Notes podcast about like getting lost in the rabbit hole of looking at
love the rabbit
horrendous stories.
For me, that's normally my starting point when I'm like, I need a new idea. I'll go to Wikipedia and I'll start down the rabbit hole of like missing people, unsolved murders, unexplained mysteries, all that kind of stuff. And normally, just taking down notes of things that have jumped out and caught my eye. Normally, I'll have a patchwork of things that can then hopefully piece something together, or spark something. But there does come a point when it's like 11:30, 12 o'clock at night, and you're reading quite scary stories about true life stuff, and I do get to the point I'm like actually getting quite freaked out reading it. Like it's, but then I suppose that's what I want, right? You want to be freaked out because that's a sign that it's like something good.
Also, sometimes you see stories. It's that sort of stranger than fiction thing, isn't it? Sometimes you see stories and you think, well, you couldn't write about that because it's just not. People wouldn't actually buy that as a fictional story, even though it was true.
There was another story, and I can't remember what country it was, but a nun was caught in camera, and she was carrying a suitcase, and there was a body in the suitcase. See, I was reading and go, what the hell? And you saw the CCTV footage of her carrying the suitcase. And I think her friend I could get it wrong, but I think her friend had died. I don't know what she was going to do with the body. But if I
was
said
it actually a nun, or was it someone dressed up?
It was a real nun. I don't think it was someone just dressed up as a nun. But if I said to my editor or my agent, this is the story I'm going to write about, but I put someone in a suitcase before, but I'm going to have a nun.
But that's it though, right? Exactly. I'd be like, right, okay, nun's in the suitcase, killer dresses up in the nun's clothes and walks out with it.
It's a good story, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a good story. But I love stuff like that because it is perfect prompts for.
But I think that is always the answer, and I don't know if people are over happy when you give that answer at a panel that we're getting inspiration from. But literally, I was scrolling through Instagram and I saw it, or I was with my first book. I was walking by the river, and that's what I thought. What if the mudlarkers found an arm instead of a Roman coin? And that's what inspired me.
Yeah, but it's the question that all authors hate: where do you get your ideas from? And sometimes the truth is not what readers would want to hear.
Sometimes it's really boring. I was washing up, and it just popped into
It's always boring. It's always boring because your subconscious is always doing the heavy lifting in the background. Yeah. You're always doing something unrelated, and then it throws something at you.
But we know now how Nadine's next book is going to start. With it at an airport and a chase across the runway
with a nun in the suitcase.
With a nun as well on board in the plane.
Like a Naked Gun plot.
Indeed.
Speaking of Naked Gun, have you guys watched the this is the final thing. I know we need to wrap up. But there's a Naked Gun reboot coming out, right?
Yeah,
Which
with
I
Liam
know is
Neeson.
going to be terrible. I
Yeah,
know it's going to be terrible. It's going to be
But
awful.
the trailer
But
looks
I have to say, the
funny.
last trailer, I have to say, I had like 3 or 4 moments. I was like, that's actually really good, like
Yeah.
Naked Gun airplane type jokes in there. I was laughing quite a lot at it.
But also,
Have you seen have you seen the poster?
yes, with the sort of AI generated hand. And
Yeah,
stuff
and
like
it goes,
that.
it's not
begin-
been created
Oh
by
no, I've
AI.
not seen. Oh, brilliant.
Oh, it's really good. I will send it to you. It's
That's
really
good.
good.
That's good.
But you know, I'm all in favour of those types, because those types of comedies have gone.
They're not
from
made anymore.
The
Yeah, I
mainstream.
know.
So
Oh, yeah.
to bring stuff like that back. Although I did make the kids watch. Have you watched Top Secret with Val Kilmer before?
Oh, I don't
Which
get.
is
I
made
know
by
of it.
the
I've never
guys that
seen
made
it.
Airplane
It's
before
the
they
old
made
one,
Airplane.
right? Yeah.
So he is a pop star. It's meant to be a sort of piss take of the films that Elvis used to make, you know, about.
Oh, right.
So he's like a pop star, but he goes to East Germany and then brings down this thing, and it's totally stupid and like totally stupid. Like I forgot how bad it was.
I like stupid.
Yeah, my eldest daughter found it funny. My wife and youngest were just like, "What? Why?"
I think you have to go with a certain mindset, right?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
It's going to be, especially the older ones at that. Yeah.
But you know, I want more stupid comedies to come back.
100%,
For some
I
reason,
agree.
they
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
make them
I
anymore.
like
So
stuff
yeah,
that I don't have to use my brain. That's what I
Yeah,
want. I don't want to
exactly.
use my
Yeah.
brain, and I don't
Just
need
stuff
it
that-
to be some existential discussion. I just
No.
No.
I just want to have fun. Sometimes.
I just want stuff that will make you just laugh
Yeah.
at the most
Like,
stupid things.
genuinely,
and that doesn't happen that often.
One of
on
my top
in
films of
movies
all
anymore.
time is probably Dumb and Dumber. Like I
Yeah,
know it's stupid, ridiculous, but there's something about it. I just like, every time it's like this stupid slapsticky stuff or like just ridiculous nonsense. There's 100% time and place for it. And
Somehow
need
we
more of it.
started this segment talking about a man being sucked into an airplane engine, and we finished it talking about.
We end
Dumb
up with
and
the
Dumber.
airplane.
Yeah,
with the airplane,
airplane.
like
I
the
suppose that's the loop. Before we go, in what I hope will become a regular section is we did actually get contacted by a listener or a viewer of the last episode saying they enjoyed the show. Claire Hanscom on Blue Sky contacted us, but she just wanted to make a point about, we obviously talked last episode about Unbound and that story, and we were talking about, you know, crowdfunding as a way of publishing, and was that model inherently broken as a way. And she makes the point, which I think is a fair one, is she says it's not the crowdfunding model necessarily that's broken, it's the fact that execs helped themselves to money that should have been held in escrow. They used author royalties to invest in various things, and that bet didn't pay off. So
I think that's fair.
you know,
What is
I
escrow?
think
Well, it's very much an American thing. Is it like a holding account?
yes, essentially, yeah, it's meant to be, yeah, they're holding it for you and gaining interest in it, but they're not meant to touch it for other expenses and stuff, essentially.
I think.
Oh, like
Claire
our
makes a good
client
point.
accounts.
Yes,
Law firms,
exactly.
basically.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly like that. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, if for crowdfunding stuff, theoretically, if you don't make your target, you don't make it, so there's no loss. And if you do make your target, you should have, put a proper budget in that
Yeah.
you know it'll cost X. You make X, there's no problem. So theoretically, I think that's right. I think crowdfunding stuff should work. As most stuff, I suppose, it's the human element. That
Well,
comes in
I
and
saw
ruins it.
someone posted something about the Unbounded, and again, there seemed to be some doubt about whether it was the same Unbound, although it had the same address, I think, but had made a £9,000 investment in Matt Hancock's mayoral race at one point.
No.
Yeah. Well, it said Unbound. Now, again, I emphasise
if that is the same
may-
Unbound, then
people
that's
were
just-
wondering if it was. A
Well, you
different
know what? I'm
Unbound,
going to
but,
run
you know.
for councillor or something, and people can invest it. But this is the thing, though. I think when it comes to these, whether you're setting up a publishing company or a cab office or anything, if it's your own business, you're relying on people to do the right thing and, I suppose, be truthful and comply with corporation law, all these sort of things. But sometimes people get blinded by the money, and when they see all the money coming in, they think, "Oh, I'll just take a tenner."
Yeah.
And then a tenner turns into 100, 100 turns into £1,000. Next thing, there's no money in the company account because you spent it all. I mean, they won't be the first and they won't be the last to get
Next
blinded.
thing you know, you're on the run in South England. selling your house to people who want to buy a book.
Yeah.
See,
I like that.
It all
You're joining all
ties
the
back.
exactly
It all ties back.
everything
It's all
together.
part-
Everything together. So yeah, thanks again for tuning in to this episode. If you enjoyed it, please be sure to follow us on social media. We're on Blue Sky, we're on Instagram at STET Podcasts. You can also watch this on YouTube at STET Podcasts again. You can like, subscribe, follow, all of these things. If you're listening to this on audio, this has its own feed, this show. So please subscribe to that and let others know about it, because obviously we're a new show despite being established in our own separate podcast as well. And if you follow the STEP podcasts, you will get all the news from all of our shows. You'll get the latest episodes and all of that sort of stuff as well. So, we will be back in a few weeks. It's now my turn to go on holiday, so that will delay the next episode. But it'll be about three or 4 weeks. We will be back with another episode looking at the latest publishing news.